Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of Coffee with Kittl. Today, I've got Hannah on the show, and we're going to be talking about why you should not become a graphic designer. It's about to get interesting. So, what I want to do first, because we've got some points to go through, I'm literally just going to go through your Instagram post, which I'll link down for anybody to read. But I'd like you to talk a little bit about yourself, give people the inside scoop into who you are. Obviously, they can check out your profile down in the description. But yeah, give us a little inside info on what you do and what you're doing creatively.
I am Hannah. I am a freelance full-time graphic designer and creative director. I work with businesses, nonprofits, and ministries to equip them with whatever their design needs are. That has mostly been merchandise as of late, but my other bread and butter is branding as well as event design. And I've been in the industry for about 9 years. I would love to say I'm self-taught, but I have a degree in visual communication, which has given me experience in every facet of design, UX, UI, experience design, print design, branding, you name it. I've worked at an agency for 2.5 years. I've worked with a startup for about a year, building their website and app interfaces. And so I've been kind of around the bend, but I've landed into this, having my own business and working with different clients in a variety of projects. And it's been real fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I encourage everybody to go check out some of your work for sure. So I think what I want to ask is so the title of the post you did here and the title of the video, let me see if this will focus on this. Sometimes, it did. Nice.
Yes.
Is don't become a designer with some points. Now I want to know why did you post this? What inspired this to happen, I guess?
I mean, in a world, I think I mentioned to you just before, it's just, we're so overstimulated and everyone claims to be a creator these days, right? Like I'm a creator, like I'm on TikTok or I'm an influencer. There's like some variety. It's and the name or the title of being creators being so congested, and even more so with applications that make it a lot faster, intuitive to design, like Kittl or Canva. The access to creating has never been so widespread, and especially in the digital landscape. And so I mean, yes, I'm like by the book, like my degree and everything. So you could put me, like someone who's by the book versus someone who's self-taught, and be like, well, you're just like trying to start a fight. And that's not the case. But I do know that there is a difference between a good and a great designer. And also there are challenges that we face as designers that you have to be okay with and ready to tackle if you are wanting to work with this full time. And so that's kind of what sparked it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I did not think you were trying to start a fight. I'm self-taught, so I'm self-taught and run a design YouTube channel. So I think that it's if you have enough. I guess to the credit of this post, if you're okay with all of these things we're about to discuss, then there's no reason you shouldn't be. That doesn't mean I didn't go take courses on design, but I didn't go to school for it. So that's interesting as well. Let me just go through these. I love the explanation that you gave. I think that's right on the money. The first one, so I'll kind of read them as the whole phrase. So don't become a designer if you're not open to criticism. Obviously, there's like a little subtext here. Happy to read it if I need to, but I think it's better if you just kind of expand on it. So, so don't become a designer. Don't get into graphic design if you're not open to criticism. That's a big one. You started with a pretty major one. So can you kind of just explain that one for us?
Well, in the design world, when you're working with clients or you're working with your boss or you're at a firm or something, whatever situation might be, you're creating for someone else. Most of the
Mm,
time, whenever you're making something, it's not for you, it's for someone else. And so I think that people look at art specifically like, oh, this is my personal expression, which absolutely it is. And we pull our personality through our design styles, and that's how people find us and want to work with us. But when we're creating something specifically for someone else, it's a transactional relationship, and we're expected to deliver what they need and not what we want. And so there is this like learning curve, especially
mm,
at the very beginning when you start out with graphic design, of okay, where does the line end of art versus service and art versus graphic design, where I'm serving somebody else as opposed to this is for my own, expression. And so,
mm, mhm.
if you're not open to criticism, you're just going to get beat. It's going to be a dog eat dog world out there, and you're going to be left behind in the dust. No one's going to, just hard to say, but like it's going to be
Mm,
difficult to want to work with you if you're always clinging to your own ideas and like, no, 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 you don't see how this is better because this is better based on my preferences,
mm,
versus having a discussion about, oh no, I understand the language of design. Here's all the intentionality of why I made
mhm.
these design decisions and how they support your vision.
Yeah.
So you have to be open to receive criticism in the sense of making sure that what you create aligns with your client's needs and aligns with the design firm's needs or the project scope, whatever that is, because
Yeah.
you're creating something based on a deliverables and what you've been asked to do, and you're just providing a service. And so being able to like separate personal art versus
Mm.
like your results for your client is super important, and that's kind of what this one touches on.
Yeah, our social media manager Duda just did a skit on that actually. The whole like you don't no, you don't understand because you don't like, because I'm the designer. You know what I mean? Like you don't understand the font choice is fine. It's like a funny little bit.
Yeah,
But like that is kind of how people are sometimes. And
yeah.
I mean, I guess I didn't immediately go to like in my mind, I didn't immediately go to like client interaction with that
Mm,
post. I went to just always being like kind of open to what a more seasoned or more professional designer would
mm,
provide via feedback. And I think there is a helpful distinguishing nature there. Like you kind of already
mm,
mentioned, like it's not saying I'm just better because I'm the designer and you don't get it. It's like
mm,
adequately explaining your decisions based on
mm,
how you educate a client, but at the same time,
mhm.
you're right. It's what they want. I
Yeah,
have so many friends that at the end of the day, they are going to provide what the client wants because technically they're going to get paid regardless.
yeah,
But I think there's that asterisk there that also applies to like, hey, if somebody, you know, more seasoned, maybe a helpful way to put it, more experienced comes along and provides you with some sort of constructive critique,
mm,
it should be welcomed as opposed to like, no, 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 you do a different kind of design. I do this kind of design. This is like my,
mm,
well, right. Because then to your degree or point, no one will want to collaborate with you. Nobody will want to work with you. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So there is that little bit of difference. Not difference, but it's like there's different kinds of critique. So
mm,
I guess what it like on this point, if we turn it into an application, like a practical application point, what for you has been the most helpful way when you're interacting with a client, customer, or whatever that is perhaps providing an abnormally large amount of critique. So I guess to paint the
mhm.
picture, nothing you do seems to be what they want.
Yeah,
To which that's a whole nother can of worms because you maybe just aren't fit for that client, right? That's a whole different
right.
conversation. But let's just
Yeah.
say maybe not abnormally large. Maybe it's just getting frustrating. Um,
Mhm.
what has been your most kind of helpful process or tip for that kind of back and forth
Yeah.
transaction? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course, yeah. Thankfully, I aim to impress right off the bat, so that doesn't happen all the time. But when it does, and it does happen to the best of us, it it's more so like, okay, turning the perspective back onto the client. All right, so
Mhm.
you said you're just not feeling it. All right, let's articulate what that means. What does that look like? So are you not a fan of the typography, or is it the color, or is there an image in here that is rubbing you the wrong way?
Yeah, sure.
Just finding some like areas that are really specific, because more often than not, it's not usually the whole composition. It's often like some things that they're just personal preferences aren't aligning with. And so if you're able to pinpoint those like pain points, as to say, of like
Yeah.
what they're not like appealing to, or what have you, then you're able to make those adjustments without changing the overall design.
Right.
And then if it is like a lot further than that, then yes, it could be a conversation of maybe we're not the right fit, which is totally fine. And
Mhm.
being able to refer clients to another colleague of mine or a peer online that might be able to handle the situation, or like deliver them a little bit more what they're looking for. So
Yeah.
it could go both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Just defining language, I think, will always be the most helpful, right? Minimal to you may be very different um, than minimal to me, and modern and minimal don't always mean the same thing either. So, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's just helpful to define those terms. Um,
exactly.
all right. So that was the first one. So don't become a
Yeah.
designer if you're not open to criticism. The next one, um, oh yeah, this is an interesting one. It's like nice going through it again. So don't become a designer if you don't enjoy problem solving. Um,
Hmm.
Probably could be said for a variety of different workplaces. But why is this the second one? Why shouldn't people become a designer if they don't enjoy problem solving?
Like it says in the description, I mean, design's more than making your like making art, making it look pretty. It is about figuring out what the need is of the client or whoever you're working with, and delivering them that result, and providing them what they're looking for to solve the problem. And that is seeded a lot in branding,
Hmm.
learning about a client, their audience, and like, are they trying to boost sales? Like, are they having issues with their branding? They're not reaching the people that they're trying to reach. Why? Being able to have a curiosity about problem solving and figuring out how visual language translates to making a sale or reaching an audience. Being able to can make those connections are imperative to have a successful career in design. And so that's kind of where this launches off of. Like, yeah, graphic design is supposed to be like, oh, like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of making something like that.
Hmm.
Like, that's the first layer. And then the next layer is like, oh, they're like
Hmm.
saying this without saying it, you know? And then being able to like unfold those layers about graphic design, and why did the designer choose like this color theory? Why did the designer choose this typography? Is it more round and bubbly because they're appealing to a younger audience, or more of a playful nature, or being able to find all of those, and like we've talked about already, the design language and having the understanding of the methodology and the science behind design is so important. And that's why it's problem
Hmm.
solving. So.
Yes, that makes total sense. Now, I'm I have also been uh, taught down the line of design solves a problem, kind of that
Mm,
kind of idea, like graphic design or good graphic design, or whatever you want to call it, is provides a solution to something,
mm,
right? So
mhm,
poster designs are meant to inform, like flyers.
mhm.
Sign designs are also meant to give directions. They can also look nice, right? Um,
Yeah.
you have design all the way up from airport signage, so you know what gate you're supposed to go to, down
Mhm,
to a merch design that needs to
mhm.
adequately show the tour dates of some concert or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is how you mentioned it, you touched on it a second ago when you were talking about um, how you deal with the artistic nature of like doing stuff as art, and then the designy nature right? That solves a problem. This
Mhm.
is such an interesting conversation because I feel like I'm so old when I say as I get older, but it's serious. Like as I get older, I have more conversations with creative friends, and
Yeah.
especially creative friends who are older than me, and we start to
Mhm.
talk about this art versus design. Are they the same? Where are they the same? Where are they not the same? It's
Yeah.
sometimes the lines are pretty difficult. So how do you manage kind of thinking about that? And because I don't know if all art is supposed to be for solving a problem. Sometimes artistic
Mhm.
expression is healing,
Mhm.
sometimes it's
Mhm.
just fun, joyful. Whereas I feel like design can be the same way but also solve a problem. So I don't know
Yeah.
where the question is in that, but like I guess how do you kind of navigate the difference in like the art aspect of it, because you are using imagery, typography, colors, things that can
Yeah.
be used for art, and that kind of like always nagging like problem solving aspect. Like how do you kind of work through that?
Yeah. I feel like I always try to design with a purpose. I
Okay.
mean, I always have a story or an idea in mind, at least, especially if I'm
Mm,
creating like a passion project. So if something aligns with, like, oh my gosh, this doesn't exist, I wish it did, then I'll make it and I'll post it. And then I've had a couple posts go like there have been an interested client and they'll want to purchase it and actually make it come to life if it's like
nice.
merchandise or a design I've posted and they're like that needs to be on a t-shirt and that has happened multiple times. And one specifically recently was just it, mental health has been an issue in our culture and like more prominent as a discussion in our culture. And there was just something weighing on my heart about suicide and
Hmm. Yeah.
just the theme that tomorrow needs you. And I just wanted to emphasize on that and figure out how to make a design that would resonate with people who might be going through something that is related to this subject. And
Mm,
so I ended up designing a t-shirt that says tomorrow needs you. Wasn't even like a t-shirt, it was just a design, tomorrow needs you. And it had like boxes of like flowers, and so it was just like this nice little cute contained design, very very simple, just two colors. And at the bottom it had like the suicide hotline 988 on the bottom, and just your existence matters on the bottom. And I had a client of mine reach out and say, I need to have this on a t-shirt.
mm.
And it has been his number one bestseller
Wow.
that he has, it just exploded all over TikTok. And it's 4610 and it's his number one bestseller. I started working with him in the fall of last year, and he was like just starting out, like brand new to the merchandise. And then since this last year, be consistent and having that design specifically, he's now looking at renting a 10,000 foot square or
Whoa.
10,000 warehouse to be able to push out these products. And I worked with him on multiple pieces, but the fact that this piece resonated, it started as something that was just weighing on my heart, and I wanted to create art that expresses and connected with an audience about it,
Mm,
and reach the right people. And it has just blown farther than I had expected. So that, I think, is where art and heart can align. And I think art in general just tells a story. And
mm.
so when you obviously we have problems to solve for making a living, solving
Sure.
people's problems with visual design and all that. And so I think there's that side of problem solving, but then on the other side there is like what are causes that are close to your heart, and the story behind it, and how it's likely resonating with people. So if you can create something with all of your tools in your toolbox about design, you don't know the impact that it will have.
Yeah. No, I love the idea of how you talked about story and purpose. I think that's like, I mean, even like I talked to some amazing designers, Raj and Kat Howe, who run How and How agency, just absolute world class design. but they're all about the narrative. They're all about the story. So yes,
Yeah.
they're, problem solving with their design, but they're also, they're
Yeah.
looking for the story that's in the company, the brand, to
Mhm.
influence their designs, which is so neat. All right, so that was the second one. The third one is don't become a designer if you lack patience. So that's a pretty big one, of course. So yeah, maybe this one's kind of closely aligned with the critique aspect or the critique nature of it. So maybe talk through this one. If you lack patience, maybe you shouldn't become a graphic designer.
Yeah. Just gonna pull it up. Just pull up my thoughts on it really quick.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, it's fine.
design. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Revisions. Enough said. Just, I think I could stop right there. The revision. I mean, having discussions with your client, revision process. If you don't have a threshold of patience, like, it's going to be very telling whether you're cut out for design or not, or
Mm,
just the openness and willingness to grow in that area. Because there's so much attention to detail required with like great design. Like, you can
mm,
put text on a color background, which apparently is working right now. So I can
there
do
you
that
go.
right now and
There
go
you go.
viral. But for long term, for a forever designer, if you don't have that attention to detail and are willing to like spend, an extra 10, 15 minutes just finessing that type or choosing the right color to really land your client, make them excited about what you're working on, or,
Mhm.
it's going to separate, the patient's level. And determine like whether you have the grit to stay in the game. Because if, like, my husband, for example, he like wants to jump from one thing to the next, and I will
Mm,
spend hours just working
mhm.
on one design. And there is like an alternate side to that, where you can't work on one project, like you can't work on a story post for like 3 hours. That's not going to be the
Sure.
best use of your time.
Yeah.
But being able to know when your design needs a little extra attention and being able to provide that, and also know, like, hey, I know I'm going to send this. I worked this project out to my client. I worked on it to the best of my ability. But if revisions come back, being okay with the fact of not getting frustrated all the time with, I
Mm.
understand that this is for them, not for me, and being able to have the patience to be able to make those revisions with a happy heart, per se.
Yeah.
And so I think that is part of it. And obviously, a lot of that is also just practice and just putting people first and putting your mindset on of like, okay, is this art for me or is this art for them? And then defining that nature, and being able to have the correct mindset for that project.
Yeah. I think what's in addition to the revision thing, which might have come to my head second, I think what I immediately thought of was like the amount of times a program will crash or just stop working.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh my.
yeah, I obviously use
Yeah.
Kittl for a lot of things, like many do, but I think, a lot of designers will utilize multiple programs, including one called Photoshop. And
Yeah.
I just don't know what, it doesn't matter on what kind of day or what you're doing, or even if you're just trying to add text, that thing's going to shut down. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
so frustrating.
No,
Or
I
like we
know.
do a lot of video, and Premiere will just stop working. So it's like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, you'll just
Yeah. No,
lose work.
absolutely not. And I mean, that's just something I feel like designers can just bond over, because we all have that pain point for sure. And that's why there's memes about it. Like, that's
Mm.
obviously part of our reality. And so, um, on the other side, at least there's a community to support you through it.
Yeah, a place that you can run to at least laugh while you cry about your lost work. Yeah, I there's so many good ones. There's so many good memes about like
Yeah.
trying to open up After Effects or trying to open up
Mhm.
Photoshop. Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
so funny how that resonates so deeply with us.
It really does. Gets us
Yeah.
all.
All right. So that was the third one, I think, right? Third one. One, two, three. Yes. All right. So the fourth one, I love this one specifically. So don't become a designer if you don't want to keep learning. And there's
Mhm,
a variety of things you have listed underneath this. So, um,
mhm,
yeah, maybe just expand. Like, why is that extracurricular learning such a
mhm.
big component of becoming or being a graphic designer? I mean,
Yeah. First, I also want to touch on like what you mentioned earlier with the fact of the criticism and like, oh, maybe there's someone who's been in the industry longer than you and they've
hmm,
like commented on your post, like, did you think of it this way? And
hmm.
hopefully it's in a well intended way that they're coming about
Sure,
it.
yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, I think this isn't just a design industry standard. I think this is just in general
Hmm.
anybody as a human, wanting to succeed in any kind of career, you can't stop learning. And I think there it like pushes up against our ego and the fact of like, hey, I know enough. Like I have
Oh,
this
yeah.
pride, like I've established this career, like I know what I'm doing, I'm making all these clients happy. While that might be true, that doesn't mean that you know everything. And
Mm.
I've had to come to terms with that too, of just like, hey, I'm in a really good spot. Like, I've got this degree in my background. But that doesn't mean I know everything. And especially with how quick that trends change and design styles and tastes are consistently changing, and maybe we're becoming out of touch with what was trendy the way if we're growing
Mm.
older, and being able to connect, like humble ourselves and connect with a book, like pick up a book, like get back to the basics of design. Maybe we've forgotten some principles and we need reminders, or grab coffee with a design hero that you have
Mm.
that has reached it, and they're in a place that you want to be someday. Ask them, pick their brain of how did they get there, and like what are things that they wish they learned when they were your age, and those kinds of things, or even peers. I sat in a
Mm.
class with a colleague of mine. I worked with him at an agency a couple years ago, and he was at this creative conference last week, and he was leading a course on like how to master design visuals and basically through his lens of design, which is 1,000 and more like Photoshop layers. It's insane. Like
Oh my
he
goodness.
works at Liberty University and he makes all of these LED walls for every speaker and everything.
Got
And
it.
he just walks
Yeah.
through that process on what that looks like. And it's not my style, like forefront, but just to be able to learn somebody else's process and be like, oh, well, I might use that for a project someday. Like
Mhm.
just because, we design differently doesn't mean I can't learn something from him. And so based on what he was provided information provided, I was able to take home a couple things and some things I want to try out too.
Oh, yeah.
Learning is also part of exploring. You don't want to lock yourself into this one little box. If you're not curating a sense of curiosity, I think that you might get left in the dust because
Mm.
there's, once again, all these trends and changes and evolving design. And so if we don't have a curiosity or an innate sense of wonder about what design could look like a year from now, 6 months
Mm.
from now, 5 years from now, then we might become irrelevant. So that was
Yeah.
kind of my take on that.
Yeah, and in addition to, consistent new and changing tools, right, that can help you,
Mhm.
uh, whether it be design
AI.
faster. My favorite ones are the ones that will help me, like, reference stuff faster.
Yeah.
So, o obviously, Pinterest is extremely great for any
Mhm.
kind of design style, it seems like. But I have a friend, his name is Edward. He showed me this Eagle app where you can like save stuff to in different folders based on like client briefs and project stuff. Like I was like, oh, that's amazing. That would have saved a whole bunch of time. I use another
Yeah.
tool called Milanote for mood boarding that I think is great. But it's like if I was fine with my little process of like managing clients and these little projects without ever changing anything, and never think to look like, how could this be better? Or how that, it's like
Mhm.
we're stunting our clients or customers' ability to have a seamless time. You know what I mean? So there's always upcoming, changing, iterating
Yeah.
tools that can help us. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, like AI, like ChatGPT for research.
Yeah.
Or if you're using like Adobe Firefly or something, not as the source of your creativity,
Hmm.
because there's
Hmm.
a lot of controversy around AI as well right now, but it shouldn't be the source of creativity, but it should speed up your process so
Yeah.
that you can have more time to focus on the things that actually matter or more time to serve your clients or whatever that looks like. So, um, yeah, 100% agree.
That's an interesting point. I was going to ask about that anyway. It's funny that you go ahead and bring it up because it is kind of part of the tools thing. But
Yeah.
obviously, we still have so much to learn outside of just trying to let the AI do all the stuff for us. But
Mhm.
I think what most people will struggle with is kind of like defining what it is that you just said, because you said words that I interpreted and immediately innately knew what you meant. Like you said,
Mhm.
not as the basis or to be the thing. And now I don't even remember what you said, but I knew what you said immediately
Yeah.
in my heart. I was like, that's exactly how I think about the generation of an AI image, as like just another reference, not to be the sole replacement or thing that is the
Mhm.
project. But I
Mhm.
think what most people will struggle with is defining that thing. So,
Mhm.
like, in that idea that we need to keep learning, keep actively staying up to date on what's either trending in a design style or what in the world the next AI tool is going to do, how can you help people understand what you just said and what I understand so that they
Yeah.
don't end up just like pumping out an image, done. You know what I mean? Because like that is the issue, is that
Yeah.
could be a copyright issue, could be whatever.
Right.
So is there a way that you can help us process like what you meant when you said that bit about AI?
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I think I believe what I said was AI is supposed to enhance your workflow. It's not
Okay, yeah.
supposed to replace
Okay.
your creativity.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we're the ones who have to prompt AI to come up with something, right? Like
True, true.
AI is not coming up with creativity for us. They're just processing an image. And even if we are like creating images in Adobe Firefly or Midjourney, like that shouldn't be the last result. There's also, you can apply text to that or like adjustments in Photoshop to take it the next step, like
Mhm,
from
mhm,
a
mhm.
good to a great design, or like make it kind of impossible for people to realize if it is AI or not. Like our job is to not use AI, in my opinion, AI as the sole source of creativity, but as an enhancement. And so if we're using it in that way of just like, oh, this is a part of my project, which I recently, this is an example of my experience with AI. I used Adobe
Mhm, mhm.
Firefly to come up with this illustration
Okay.
that was very specific. And I'm not really an illustrator.
Sure,
I
sure.
might look like it or appear like it, but I'm not. I'm more of like an image manipulator, and I mean most designers are. And I had this poster that for a client who had like a coconut colada smoothie bowl that they needed to advertise, but they
Mhm.
wanted to have it advertised through a lens of like a vintage, like 1970s tiki bar poster.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm like, I don't have the skill set to be able to pull that off. There's no way, no how. And so I looked to Adobe, or I'm sorry, yeah, Adobe Firefly, and went through like 600 reiterations to get the
Whoa.
result that I was looking for.
That's
And my client was super happy with it, but like
yeah,
it takes time. There's the patience portion right
yeah.
there.
Oh my gosh.
But just to come up with something real. And I know AI is still learning, but like right now, it is not perfect. This is like kind of like the beginning of the internet's portion of
Mhm.
AI of like free for all. Like if nothing is honed in yet, it doesn't really know what it's doing yet.
Interesting.
To the point of being able to replace creativity. And so that's not a fear I have, but it definitely can help the process.
Yeah. No, that's good. I've also had similar interactions. I don't know about 600, but I've definitely fought with it for about 3 hours before to get something
Yeah.
specific. All right, so those were the, I think it was four, right? One, two, three, four. Yeah. So that was the four. So don't become a designer if you're not open to criticism, don't enjoy problem solving, lack patience, or want to keep learning. And so, is there any? What I want to know now is just like for those that are maybe struggling on their journey, or maybe not even struggling, just like they don't necessarily have a problem with those things, but they want to know, like, they don't struggle with those things, so they want to know, like, all right, cool, I passed that tier, Hannah, what's the next, like, I passed that checklist, what's the North Star for me now? Basically, like, the encouragement,
Yeah.
like, I want to be patient, I want to learn, I'm hungry for revisions, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm okay with all that. Like, what encouragement do those people need to hear to, yeah, boost their, to enhance their graphic design journey, if you will? Which I know is a rather vague and open-ended question,
Mhm.
but it's kind of on purpose, I think, because
Yeah.
it's just like, I could have one perspective, and I could take a very educational route that's like, go watch the YouTube channel, or go watch Chris Do at the Future or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, I can take one route, but everybody has a different perspective in what you would say, um, to nurture, to grow, just encourage somebody on their
Yeah.
graphic design journey. So yeah, what would you say is that next tier after this checklist?
Yeah, it totally depends on where they're at. But if they're just starting out, one, get to posting. Like,
Mm,
start
okay.
creating, start making things. Like, you're never gonna get to where you want to be unless you start doing it, obviously. And I know that's super cliche, but it's so true. Like, if you don't start putting things out there, you don't, like, people are gonna know about you. They're not gonna know the
True.
unique lens that you see the world through and why
Mm,
your art is different from somebody else's, or why like the way you see the world is different or could reach a niche that no one else has. And so being able to put your work out there is like the first step. And then
yeah.
also just find people who you look up to and ask them questions. Like if there is a designer or a creative or somebody who is in the lane that you want to be, reach out. I think that we are hitting a space in culture where we're becoming very relational, and that the desire for those relationships when we're so um, not ostracized isn't the right word, but like
Yeah.
spread apart from
Right.
um, the digital age and just being on social media. The interaction is so important. I mean, broadcast channels on Instagram are becoming a thing, so you have more of an intimate view in a conversation. And then the comment section. I mean, look at TikTok. Like
Yeah.
being able to interact with other people is so important. And so I think that while it might feel, I would definitely feel this way of like maybe they just don't want to spend the time like talking to me or helping me through my design problem or whatever. Just ask. Like
Mm,
I pretty much every DM has reached out to me about a design question, I've responded
yeah.
with at least like voice text or something, just to be able to help them get through it. Because I've been there too. Like I know what it's like, and people have helped me get to the point where I am. So I want to do the same for others. And there are a lot of designers who feel that way too. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% back that. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, some of my best friends all started because I asked them a design question just to get
yeah.
help, and then now eventually years later become just really good friends. So I definitely back
Mm,
that. Um,
yeah.
I always give the space towards the end of the conversation for our guests to kind of talk about anything exciting that might be coming up, any kind of offerings. Obviously, I've got your profile and things like that work all linked down in the description. But if there's anywhere that you want to direct people to in terms of like
Mhm.
following you, or if there's anything that, we have a lot of creators, designers that sell tools, resources, things like that, feel free to, yeah, basically
Mhm.
share any and all that you have upcoming.
Yeah, actually, this is really funny because I have not announced it yet. So
Oh, interesting.
this has been something that's brewing since like all summer long. I am putting out a tri-tier information or engagement with like learning how to be a designer and do what I do. If you're
Okay.
interested in freelance design, if you're interested in branding, event design, or even just the basics of design, merchandise design, all of those things, client relations, you name it. Like I
Nice.
am going to be offering 3 tiers to support people who are interested in those categories. Um, Providing you with all of my knowledge. The first one being a one pager, basically a write out of my process, what that
Mm,
looks like, what it takes to get there. And then the second part being courses with
okay.
myself and probably another creator in the Instagram space or a
Mm,
designer, kind of tag teaming, coaching, like a 3-part night class on a specific topic. Maybe it's like creating mock-ups or designing a logo and those kinds of things. Probably a little more niche than that. This isn't honed in yet, but this is coming down the pipeline. And then the third being, which is actually available at any time, I am offering an internship. It's about 6-7 weeks,
wow.
one-on-one with people who want to learn everything and have that personal connection with me to be able to talk about how does design fit in your career and what does that look like going forward. So I will
Mm.
model the course to you and tailor to you. And honestly, this is my favorite one because I love building relationships one-on-one.
Wow,
And
nice.
so, yeah, all of those 3 options are available and coming soon.
Nice. And so where should people go to like join an email list, or should they just follow
Yeah.
you and that's where it's
Yeah,
gonna be like,
I would
yeah.
just say follow me. I'll make an announcement soon. This is still in the works. I don't have
Okay, okay.
anything on paper just yet, but I hope to get it out by before the end of the year or just in January. It's going to happen by January.
Oh,
So
okay. So pretty soon.
you can follow me. I'll make announcements by that. And then, but if you're immediately interested in the internship program, I can get you on board immediately. Just send me a DM on Instagram.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Hannah, thank
Yeah.
you so much for taking the time to walk through your post. That was a lot of fun. You basically provided the entire podcast talk for me without having to do any work. So that's always a good time. For everyone watching and listening, thank you so much for your time. Make sure you check out those links down in the description, whether you're on Spotify or YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to either one where you watch or listen, and comment. Apparently, you can comment on Spotify now, and I have turned that on. So that's interesting. So now you can comment on YouTube and Spotify, wherever you want. And we will be checking those out and commenting. Now, if there was something that we went into, this would be super interesting. Definitely comment if there was one of these points or a sub point we mentioned that you would want to go deeper into, because I know Hannah makes, you make those helpful short reels, describing your
Yeah.
process or tools or whatever. So that would be super helpful for us, for both of
Yeah.
us. If there's something you want to know, drop it in the comments so we can check those out, because we look at those. As well as join our Discord. We're going to be having these kind of conversations all the time. So if those of you watching have immediate needs, you can shoot Hannah a DM, or you can come join us in the Discord, where we're going to help you on your design journey. So again, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.